Hello, welcome to Tech Transform. In this session, we are going to learn about what are RDTs, data frame, and dataset. What are the differences between RDT, data frame, and dataset? We already covered a lot of concepts and a lot of examples using RDT. In my last video, I have covered what is Spark SQL and how a Spark SQL provides various ways to interact with the structured data like data frame and dataset or Spark SQL syntax. So here, this session is mainly focused on what is the difference between RDT, data frame, and dataset? When to use what, and how they are efficient with an example. Let's move. So this is the history of Spark APIs. So it's you can see the Spark evolution. Spark evolution has been happened like RDT, then data frame, then dataset. So this is the very basic and building block of whole Spark core. So it's a distributed collections. Data frame is again a distributed collection, but it is unlike RDT. It is having a schema. So you have a column and row like structure there. And data set is it's a strongly typed object, you can say. So data frame is a, you can say it's a row object of dataset row, where each row is your generic, and you don't know the data type of that particular of the column. But data type, you already attaching a strongly typed schema to your data, and your data is strongly typed and type safe at the compile time. I am going to open a very beautiful article from Databricks rather than creating slides for you. So this is the very good article which is giving a very good difference and the versus of RDT's data frame and dataset. So we can say RDT we already know. So RDT is a core. It's an immutable. It's an RDT is an immutable distributed collection of elements of a data partitioned across nodes in a cluster that can be operated in parallel with a low-level API that offers transformations and actions. So this we already know that RDT is an immutable distributed collections of elements, and it can be distributed across clusters, and there we can use low-level APIs operations like transformations and actions, as we did in our last couple of examples. So when to use RDT? When you have a very low level of transformation, your data is unstructured, like you are getting continuous streams of data or medias which can't be structured. So in that case, we should use RDT. And if we know that we can give Forjo some optimizations like and performance benefits, because Spark provides a lot of optimization and performance tuning for data frame and data set that's RDT cannot be utilized. So if we have a running with a small data set and we can Forjo the optimization and performance technique used by Spark, then we can use RDT. In what happens to RDT in Spark 2.0. So Spark 2.0, actually they introduced a new APIs like data frames and data sets. So data frames is like data set. On top of that, it's like structured. RDT was very suitable to deal with unstructured data like text data or CSV data, whether there is no structure. But in Spark 2.0, they introduce a new API to interact with the structured data or semi-structured data semi-structured data like XML or JSON file, structured data like Avro, Parquet, MySQL, OCR files. So data frames, you can say it's again an immutable distributed collection of data, but unlike an RDT, data is organized into a named columns. Means for each row in your RDT, it is going to give you are going to assign a column to each value in a row. So it's like a table in a relational database, we can say. It's designed to make large data sets processing even easier. Data frame allows developers to impose structure onto a distributed collection of data, allowing a higher level of abstractions. So here you can provide your, or you can impose your own data structure to the entire data set. Okay, so you can see data frame and data sets, how they are distinguished. So that datasets, the 2016 dataset came. Data frame, you can say dataset of row object. Dataset of row object means your data is having a data set but of row generic objects. You don't have any type specified. But here you can say this is untyped API. Data frame is untyped API, so it's not strongly typed and it's not compile time safe. It's not safe API. It's not a type safe API. You can say untype safe API because you're not going to get let's say you don't know the data type inside data frame. So if you're doing some operation which doesn't allow some data types for that particular operation, you're not able to perform in that in that particular data set. Let's say in one line you have created a equal to 10, and the next line you're again assigning a string to that a equal to abc. So that's the compile time. If you're using data frame, it's going to allow you, and you're going to get error at runtime. But dataset is as it's a typed API, it's a strongly typed API. So you can see dataset of T means T is a certain a class or a object of a strongly typed. So what happened here, if you're trying to do some mistake at compile time, at the compile time you're going to get reported that you have some issue with the code you have written, rather than going and getting it runtime. So it's always better to have a look of error in compile time rather than going and seeing runtime. So again, the definitions, like it's a strongly typed API and untyped API, and an untyped API as shown in figure table below. So typed and untyped APIs, you can see in Scala we have a dataset of T, that is typed APIs, data frame, untyped API. So we can say also alias for dataset row. So in Scala, so typed and untyped APIs are dataset are typed APIs, and untyped APIs is data frame. In Java again dataset T. Python we have a data frame. That is also again because Python is a not type safe language, that's why it's a data frame is a lot there. Also in R, data frame concept is there. So benefits of datasets, what is the benefits? Like it's static typed and runtime type safety. Means consider static typing and runtime safety as a spectrum with SQL least restrictive to dataset mostly. For instance, in your Spark SQL string queries, you won't know a syntax error until runtime. Okay, yeah. In a Spark SQL query, you won't know a syntax errors until runtime, right? At compile time you're not going to get that error, whereas in data frames and datasets you can catch errors at compile time also. So you can see this diagram is very well, it's explaining very well. Like always we have two types of errors: syntax errors and analysis errors. Syntax errors, like let's say we left the comma, leave this with a semicolon, we are not opening a parenthesis, we are not closing the brackets and all those. So syntax errors, SQL, it's reported at runtime. Data frame, it's reported at compile time. Datasets, it's reported at compile time. So SQL is going to report your runtime, but data frame and dataset is going to report you the syntax error at compile time. But analysis errors means, let's say analysis error, if you want to access some column which is not available, if you want to do some operations on a certain data type which is not suitable for that particular data type, and you're not going to know at the time of compile. So that's what your data frame and SQL, it's going to perform you those errors at runtime, but datasets, it's very efficient, it is going to perform you those errors upfront in compile time only. You don't have to wait for runtime. So you're going to mitigate those errors at the very initial. You don't have to wait for runtime. You don't have to make your code break in the deployment or in the server, where finding a issue is very cumbersome. So datasets is very useful. So it's a high level of abstractions, custom view into structured and semi-structured data. Let's say I'm giving you example. Data frame, we already know, as a collection of dataset row, renders a structured custom view into your semi-structured data. Let's say we have a huge IoT device event dataset, which is IoT device dataset that is in JSON format. Since JSON is a semi-structured format, it lends itself well to employ dataset as a collection of strongly typed specific dataset device IoT. Let's say this is my JSON containing device ID, device name and all those. we can express as a device IoT data as a custom object. Let's say we can create a class, a case class, and we can perform we can give the structured schema to this JSON type, like giving the all the names, all the column names with their data type. And next we can read this JSON file like this. So DS is now a collection of JVM. Okay, we can read like a spark.read.json, the path of that JSON, as device IoT data. So it is going to give you a data set, because you are attaching or you're imposing particular device IoT data object to the JSON data type. And finally you're going to get this DS, which having a structured format of this unstructured data in a JSON format. So finally you got a DS data set. Three things what happens here: Spark reads the JSON, infers the schema, and creates a collection of data frames. What it is doing initially: first, Spark is reading the JSON, it's inferring the schema and creates a collection of data frames. At this point, Spark converts your data into data frame, means data set of row, where a collection of generic row objects, since it does not know the exact type. At the very first, when you are creating your RDD, you're loading your JSON into directly data frame. At that time you're not aware of the data type. At that time you're knowing only the column name. You're going to divide into a columnar property. So at that time it's your data frame is just a data set of row object, where row is a generic object since it does not know the exact type. Now finally what we did, finally Spark converts the data set row to data set of device IoT data, because because finally it's a case class device IoT data. So Spark enforces that data frame to having a fixed type of a structured and type specific JVM object of device IoT data. And finally we are going to have this look of this data having structure type column no. Performance on optimization. So data frames and data set and data frame, Spark provides a lot of optimization for these two APIs. Space efficiency also you can see. If you are going to cache your RDDs, also you are going to cache your dataset, you can see how less memory while caching is utilized by dataset, where RDD is taking high memory than dataset. So also it's a space efficiency. When to use data frame and when to use datasets. Let's say if we want to perform rich semantics, high level abstractions, and domain specific APIs, we should use dataset or data frame. If we are processing high demands, high level expressions, filters, maps, aggregators, averages, sums, equals, queries, columnar access, and use of lambda expression on semi-structured, we should use data frame or dataset. If we want to use higher degree of type safety of compile time, we must use dataset, because dataset is providing type safety of compile time, not data frame. If we want to unification and simplification of APIs, Spark libraries, use data frame or dataset. If we are a R user, we should use data frame. If we are a Python user, we should data frame. If you are a Python user, use data frame and resort back to RDDs if you need more control. So also we can let's say we have this data set, we want to convert data set to data frame. We can easily convert by using .rdd. Okay, by using RDD we can convert any structured data to unstructured data, means data frame or data set to RDD. So that's all for this video. We have covered a lot of things from the difference, from the versus perspective. What are the RDD, what are data frame, data set, when to use what are the internals of those, and what are the basic difference among them. So that's all for this video. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Bye.